since it is Hallo-week, I figured I can't go the whole week without making a video. So I decided we're going to discuss some of the Halloween costumes that I've had over the years. Let me tell you guys something. I am 36 years old and I have never, ever missed a Halloween. I've gone out in the rain, I've gone out in the snow, I've gone out in the freezing cold. I hated going out in the freezing cold because you had to wear a coat. You wear a coat and we can see your costume. But I don't, unfortunately, have all of my costumes. I don't even have all of my best costumes, sadly. I had some really good ones in high school. I went as a killer doll in high school one time. Think I could find some of the pictures of that? No, of course not. But I do have plenty to show you. So, warn you ahead of time, I do have some photographs from when I was a kid. Now, some of you younger ducklings aren't going to remember that at one point in time, there were no digital cameras. So I've got pictures that were actually film, and I don't own a scanner. So what you're actually getting are pictures of pictures. The quality wasn't all that good to begin with, so they don't look great, especially since most of them were framed. So they were kind of taken through glass, but I will go ahead and show them to you, and they're at least good for a laugh. So let's go ahead and get started with those right away, and then we can go into some of the ones with more recent costumes and a little bit more digital. Our family is a clowning family. Believe it or not, my mother did in fact graduate from clown college. So I have gone in the past as a clown. So I will show you one of those clowning pictures now. And that was my Halloween costume, and I was very, very proud of that. Now, I did help my mother out with her clowning when I was a kid. I was kind of her bodyguard. And my costume didn't look like this. But this was good enough for Halloween. And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe my mother actually did my face makeup for me. So it was authentic. One of my favorites was a homemade costume. My mother made the costume for me. And I went as a California raisin. Do you remember the California raisins? I do. If you don't remember the California raisins, Google is your friend. You might even be able to find some of the commercials with the California raisins on YouTube. They're at least good for a laugh. And I did, in fact, go as a California raisin. Probably one of the best and worst costumes was the rabbit in a hat. I did, in fact, go as a rabbit in a hat. I think I actually used it twice because it was kind of an expensive costume. So my mother made me wear it for 2 Halloweens. And I want to say the last time I wore it, I was in 8th grade. And I don't remember how old I was the first time I wore it. But I believe it was in 8th grade the last time I wore it. This sucker had wires in it. It did in fact have wires in it, so that the hat was actually like a hat. And the costume was quite large. And it didn't have wires for the ears. So I believe in the picture I'm holding the ears up. And I think at some point in time my mother actually put paint stirrers on the back to hold the ears up. But in the photograph I'm holding them up. I'm not sure this is the 8th grade picture. This might have been the first time I wore it. So I don't know what year this was taken. This was not... When I was a kid, you were allowed to wear Halloween costumes to school. I understand you're not allowed to do that anymore, but we did when I was a kid. I may be the reason that you're not allowed to wear Halloween costumes to school anymore. We had those desks where it wasn't a desk and a chair. It was the desk. It was the chair with the desk that shot out of the side. The rabbit and hat costume doesn't fit in those desks. Had to have my entire Halloween class on the floor. Totally worth it. We did the Halloween parade. Totally worth it. This one was the simplest costume. I think this was one of the few years of my life where I didn't paint my face. But I decided my mother and I dress up the front of our house, and we do a graveyard out in the front of the house. I'll show you a video at some point after Halloween. But we do a graveyard in front of the house, and my mom hands out full-size candy bars and the whole 9 yards. And the kids come from all over the place. We have hundreds of kids every year. And this one particular year, I decided to wear this costume. And this was a dress that I've had for about 20 years. And I had a blackout mask on my face. I used to stand out in the driveway, and I would stand perfectly still until somebody came over and like tugged on my costume, or they started poking and prodding around to see if it was a mannequin or how they were getting it to stand up, and then I would just kind of move and scare them. I didn't do any yelling or any like jumping at people or anything like that. I would just startle them. I still got it. I still got it. The kids, you know, had screaming and things like that. It was a lot of fun. One of the mothers peed herself in the driveway. I made a grown woman pee. Another favorite of mine was always the skeleton. I did do it several years. Now, the picture with the red hair, the really little picture, that was the first time I ever did it. Now, I don't know what I photographed this costume with. I don't know if I took the picture with like a pin or if it was taken with a potato. I don't know. But yes, it is that small, and no, there's nothing I can do about it. But you've got the other picture. I think I did this costume 3 or 4 times, and I altered the actual costume, but not the face makeup. It's kind of like a go-to of, oh crap, I forgot to plan a Halloween costume. So there you go. The first time it was planned, and the costume was actually quite elaborate. I had my hair dyed Manic Panic Vampire Red. Painted up the face. I had the skeleton gloves. I had a white shirt that I had splattered with red paint that looked like blood. And I had a tie with a little skeleton on it. So it was actually planned the first time. Not so much after that. I had a couple of years where I was just doing kind of weird things. This was one of those years. Those are supposed to be bullet holes. There are 3 of them. And there's blood and, of course, my natural hair, which, being as curly as it is, I don't always need a wig. I can just comb my hair out, frizz it out, and we're good to go. So, I don't know what else to say about that. I did screw it up a little bit. There's like a big chunk of black right here, which I managed to work with, but it wasn't supposed to be there. I really messed it up and kind of had to work with it, but there you go. Okay, so this was another doll here. I actually had several of these as well. They were all completely different. This one was the ventriloquist dummy. I wasn't completely happy with the makeup, but it kind of worked out. Now, on my other channel, I had talked about in my anti-haul that I didn't want to buy fake lashes. I wasn't going to buy fake lashes, and I discussed the fact that I do have several pairs of lashes. The lashes in this picture are the ones I was talking about, the ones that came up to my eyebrow. Those are those in case you thought I was making that up. They actually were not uncomfortable. Didn't even realize that they were on most of the night. And yeah, I dug this costume, but you know, kind of like anything else, you do the makeup and you're not completely happy with it, but you don't have time. I'm probably going to have one of those years this year too. I'm going as the Cheshire Cat this year. It's a YouTube tutorial that I found, and I'm going to try to follow it, and I'm going to try to do it, and I'm hoping it turns out, it's probably not going to turn out as good as she did it, but I'm going to try really hard. But I'm thinking it's probably going to be another one of those years where it looks decent, but I'm not happy with it. I have a whole bunch of years, kind of like the bullet hole years, where I'm not really sure what I was doing. This one, I just told everybody I was a lobotomy. This is not how a lobotomy would have been performed, but it was the easiest way to describe exactly what it was that I was doing. So I was a lobotomy. This is one of the few years that I had a store-bought costume. I did the face myself, obviously, but I usually don't buy store-bought costumes. I usually get them from thrift stores and stuff that I have in my own wardrobe collection. This particular year, I found this witch costume, and I went for it. And it actually turned out pretty good, I thought. I kind of went a little bit minimalistic on the makeup. I just tried to make myself look old and haggard. Probably should have waited till now, because that's not so hard now. But again, I don't know when this particular one was taken, but this was actually a really good costume. This is the first time I found a store-bought costume that actually looked decent. Like, it didn't look cheap. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. The crappy material and all. This thing was comfortable. It fit perfectly, and it actually looked decent. So I was really thrilled with this costume, and I wish I had held on to it. I held on to all these wigs that I've got, like the purple freaky wig. It's hanging on a chair over here. I may be using it again this year. But I hang on to the wigs. I don't know why I didn't hang on to this costume. I don't know where it is. It's probably in the attic. I should look, because I could be a witch next year. The older I get, the lazier I get around Halloween. Okay, and this is the final picture. I don't know what that is. I didn't know what it was when I was doing it. It was one of those things where I had bought a bunch of Halloween makeup and I had a wig. That was the wig that I wore in the witch costume. And I had all this stuff and I had never actually sat down to plan a costume, and suddenly, boom, here's Halloween. I don't know what it is. I've had people say it looked like an 80s rocker. I don't know. We'll go with that, I guess. Pardon me for randomly squeezing this in here, but I actually forgot to mention this before my battery died on my camera. Last year's costume. I was actually sick for Halloween last year, so I ended up going as a cracked doll. But last year I was supposed to be the Cheshire Cat, and I got sick. I got really, really sick, and I had a bad cold. And I didn't want to be trying to blow my nose and stuff like that with all that makeup on my face, so I ended up going as a cracked doll. Not my best costume, but there it is. So I will be back with a video either on Halloween or shortly after, showing you what I ended up doing with my costume this year and what the front of our house looked like. I hope you guys enjoyed my little trip down memory lane. Ooh, it's Thursday. We actually did a Throwback Thursday. I hope you guys enjoyed my little trip down memory lane. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time, guys. Stay tuned for my Halloween video.